One of the biggest diseases today is pessimism. Pessimism will ruin your life. It is absolutely poisonous. It will shut you down. And unfortunately, a lot of people have grown up in very negative homes, which is why they find themselves just always living in scarcity, always complaining about what they don't have, the lack of, and always focusing on why something won't work out as opposed to why it will. And if you don't actively try and correct that, you will forever remain a pessimistic person, and it will rob you of a potentially remarkable life. I've met people like this. You talk to them, and after 2 minutes, you feel negative. You know, they say we are basically a bunch of atoms, and, you know, we are positively or negatively charged or whatever, right? I feel negatively charged when I'm around negative people like that. Now, I completely understand that some people have gone through extremely traumatic experiences, and I have complete sympathy for anybody that has. You know, I don't believe that the world is sunshine and rainbows and that everyone has a great life. No. Some people are really going through something. However, there are people that just enjoy complaining, enjoy talking about why something won't work out. You know, maybe you stand there and you're like, you know what? I want to change this person's perspective. I want to encourage them. I want to talk to them about the possibilities. But you find yourself 5-10 minutes into the conversation just being like, you know what? This motherfucker doesn't want to be saved. You know, they say, don't save her. She don't want to be saved, right? It even applies to guys as well. He don't want to be saved. He doesn't want to be enlightened. Those are the most difficult conversations. Conversations with people that don't want to be enlightened. Which is why I always say that just by simply being open-minded in life, you allow yourself the opportunity to grow. If you are not open-minded, you will never grow. You will never improve. And what kind of a life is that? A life where you could have achieved, but you got in your own way. It's your fault. Now, look, it's not your fault if you grew up in a toxic household. You're not responsible for how your parents treated you when you were 5, 6, 7 years old. But growing up, I mean, you're an adult now. Now you have to consciously make the decision to not be this way going forward. Otherwise, you will experience the same sort of life that maybe your parents experienced. Constantly living in scarcity, afraid. And a lot of it was self-inflicted. I know a lot of people like this, that come from families like this. You know, families that stayed down, not because they didn't have the opportunities, but because they thrived in the negativity. It's almost like they enjoyed being negative. Maybe some people offered help, offered assistance, offered guidance. But they're like, no, this is just the way it is. You know, we're always doing. It's like people that truly believe that this politician will change the game for them. And look, there are some politicians that may introduce some laws that make life easier. But there are people that believe, no, he will do everything for us, you know. And if he doesn't, then we're doomed. It's like, well, no, you're not doomed. Because you have the ability. You're a human being. You can make a new decision. You don't have to stay where the taxes are high. You can move. Now, yes, it's easier said than done. People will always say that, right? Well, Ali, it's easier said than done. I never said it was going to be easy. But other people have done it. Other people have said, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm not staying here and paying this ridiculous amount of tax. I'm going to take my family with me. Is it scary? Absolutely. You don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know if you're going to integrate into that new environment, whether your kids will integrate. It's scary. But sometimes, as a man, you have to make tough decisions. Scary decisions. It could pay off in a manner that you never expected. It could be the best decision you've ever made. You know, think of this, guys. The next time you're about to make a big decision, think of the potential positive impacts of that as well. Of course, factor into account the risks, but we tend to focus too much on the risks. That's the pessimism. That's the, oh my God, what if I mess up, my friends will laugh at me. It's a risk. Embrace it. I've said this in countless videos before. Change your relationship with risk. Risk is not the enemy, you know. Risk is something that is everywhere. Some things entail a bigger risk than others, but everything's risky. Everything is. And you know deep down inside, because people will tell me, Ali, well, you don't know how risky this new thing is for me or whatever. I don't know every single person's, you know, situation and what decision they're about to make. However, you know when a decision is, yeah, you know, it could be a bit risky, but it makes sense. You know when it makes sense. Maybe staying where you are right now is just pure hell. And so you're like, you know what, the risk of moving is very minimal. And you also have to tell yourself, what is the risk of not moving? What is the risk of not taking that decision? You know, it's not always about the risk of taking that decision. It's also about, what if you don't? What will be the risk then? Right? So look, the way you cure pessimism is by expecting a better tomorrow and telling yourself that I deserve a good life. I do. Will it be easy? Absolutely no. It won't be. But I am willing to do whatever it takes. As long as it's moral, legal, and ethical, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Because I deserve a great life, and so does my family. Sitting there complaining and hoping that some politician will come around and change the game, that's not a good strategy. As I said in my last video, hope is not a strategy. Hoping is what people that believe that they have no options will do. You have options. You do. Now, you may not have many, but you have options. Staying the same is not an option. You have to tell that to yourself. Staying the same is not an option. I cannot allow myself to stay the same. What kind of a life is that? That should be the scariest thing for you. Staying the same. Being the same old fucking Joe Schmo every year. Nothing's changed. Still with the same old excuses. Yeah, well, I'm not where I want to be because, you know, I didn't get that loan approved and my parents didn't help me out. And you're a grown man. You're 30 years old. Drop the fucking excuses and get on with your life. Stop being afraid, man. Think of all the great that could come from this decision that you're about to make. Be led by that. And a lot of the times, the thing that we fear, the worst case scenario, isn't even that bad. Okay, you move to a different city, it doesn't work out. If you have a good relationship with your parents, which hopefully you will do, but if you do have a good relationship with them, then you just move back in with them after, and then think about what you're going to do next. Or maybe friends, if your parents don't get on with you, for example, right? Yeah, there's always a solution. And tell yourself that as well. Even if there's no apparent solution in front of you, tell yourself, I'll find one. You know, just changing what you say has a major, major impact. I'll find a solution. Because staying down is not an option. It's not an option. I refuse to stay down. Because I think highly of myself. I know that I deserve a great life. And so I will do everything in my power to ensure that I do. Stay away from pessimistic people. They have a problem for every solution. Stay away from them. Pessimistic people are so negative that if you put them in a dark room, they'll start to develop. Stay away from them. Some of your friends may be pessimistic. Some of your relatives may be. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, if it's your mum, for example, that you never spend time with her. No. But maybe there's certain conversations that maybe you shouldn't have with her anymore if you feel that it brings a whole load of negativity. Just don't be talking about it. Change the subject. You can't force someone to think the way that you do, as much as we often try to. We often try to enlighten somebody. But you can't force someone to change their perspectives. They have to be open-minded enough to challenge their own beliefs. And if they are willing to learn, then they'll pause and they'll reflect. You know what? Maybe this guy has a point. Maybe the way I've been viewing this has been completely wrong all along. You've got to be open. I'm open to challenging my own perspectives. By all means. I don't think I have all the answers. I don't think I'm the best thing that's ever happened. No. I'm still a student of life. And if somebody challenges my perspectives, I'm keen to know why. I'm interested. Why? Why do you feel, and not in a defensive way, like, what the fuck do you feel? Nah. It comes from a place of me being inquisitive, curious. Why? I'm curious. Why do you believe? And this is why I'm launching my podcast. Right? Follow me on Instagram. The podcast is called Coffee and Takes. Okay? I'm just a naturally curious individual. Why do you believe that? Let's get under the surface. Why? All right? So thanks very much for watching this video, fellas. If you enjoyed it, make sure you comment down below. Give me a like as well. It helps the algorithm. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.